The regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Lavallette for Monday, April 19th, 2021 will come to order. Please call the roll.
Councilman Lamb?
Here.
Councilperson Salem?
Here.
Councilman Stockdale?
Here.
Councilman Pinto?
Here.
Here.
Councilman Borowski had asked me to request an excused absence. Anybody like to make the motion
I'll
to
motion.
excuse? I got a second as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Borowski's been excused. Please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting has been closed to the public physically and is being live streamed via Zoom. Any comments from the public that receive the email no later than 4 p.m. Those that is posted on our website with instructions on how the public can connect to this time.
Thank you. I'll read the Zoom disclaimer as usual. During the public comments part of the meeting, if you'd like to speak, please click the raise hand button and you will be we will be notified of your request to talk. The mayor will recognize you and your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to speak. Once you have completed speaking, your mic will be remuted. For security reasons, we cannot recognize anyone who is listed as anonymous or a phone number that is not identified. When you are recognized and unmuted, you must first state your name and your address before saying anything or asking any questions. Failure to do so may result in you being muted and or disconnected. On computers, the raise hand button can be found in the webinar controls section, typically at the bottom of your screen. If you raise your hand by accident, please feel free to lower your hand. If you're only joining by dialing in, you can simply dial *9 and toggle between raise hand and lower hand. On a mobile device, the raise hand and lower hand buttons are typically found in the lower left corner of the screen. The meeting will also be live streamed on YouTube. There's roughly a 20-second delay in the process. YouTube chat will no longer be used for public commenting. At this time, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. I'm not aware of any local citizen or owner or anybody with a connection to the borough that has passed away since our last meeting. So at this time, I'll ask you to consider your own thoughts in the moment of silence, after which I will ask Councilman Stockdale to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Sun shining through the back of us here indicates longer day, and that means warmer weather. We're gearing up for our summer season. I did get a couple calls and hear a couple comments about the paving projects that are going on in town. Some people want to know why the full street's not being paved by the borough. Well, the answer to that question is we're not paving any of the streets. Our ordinance is required that the gas company repave after they did their installations. They've chosen to, after they had patched it, to actually grind out and repave half of the streets, which is going to save the borough a tremendous amount of money down the road. Typically, it's about $100,000 for one segment of street to be paved. So we're saving about $50,000 on every segment that you see. $50,000 on the ocean block, $50,000 between the highways. Every one of those is money in our pockets. So thank you, gas company. Okay. Onto the agenda. We have the consent agenda. I will read through by number, accepting council comments along the way. At the end of that agenda, I will ask for a motion, a second, and we'll take the roll. 117 is approving a facilities use application to Lavallette Fitness to hold fitness classes on the Geyer Avenue Ocean Beach on Saturdays, July through September 4, 2021, from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Is that a new application? They've done that before? Okay.
Is that our personal fitness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 118, amending the 2021 temporary budget in amount of $74,000 for miscellaneous items in the police, beach, and stormwater areas. Our next meeting, we will hopefully be adopting the permanent budget, and we will not have a need to do temporary amendments anymore. 119, approving a facilities use application to This Is Yoga to hold yoga classes on the Kerr Avenue, Ocean Beach, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, May 7th through September 9th, 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Is there any room for more yoga instructors up there? I think we're out of beaches for those.
Wonderful.
guys.
Yeah, same as one from last year.
They're real good at.
Really good.
mixing the street.
Uh,
Good.
120, approving 3 applicants to attend the Ocean County Police Academy Class 1 training commencing April 8th. And I was advised that we did have difficulty in securing enough applications, as has every other town with this anti-police
Mhm.
movement out there.
Mentality.
It's going to be difficult to find even permanent police officers if it continues in this direction.
No bueno.
121, awarding a contract to Central Jersey Equipment through the cooperative pricing agreement with the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey for the lease purchase of 2 2021 John Deere Gators in the amount of $31,610.49.
Mayor,
Yes.
who are they for?
Mr. Bryce?
They're for the lifeguards.
Yeah, I thought so.
One's actually gonna be for the advanced check control,
Mhm.
and the one they currently have will be reassigned to lifeguards. The other one is going to be a longer type of med, actually specialized med. So we're getting in there to hold a medical stretcher.
Oh,
to help
good.
evacuate,
Okay,
injured people from it.
Allows for a
Good.
seat, the medical structure's on one side, a lot of backboard to fit in there to where it can't move. And then there's seats next to it for care to be,
that's fine.
the other one is a lower power for for Pam and such to use. And because the one she has now, I mean, it's a full-fledged, you can tow it. So really no need for her to have that. So the lifeguards will take that one.
And she'll take the
They have
smaller
to
one.
store it.
Okay, good.
And this will come to the 3-year warranty on these as well. So we'll provide regular. But it will have to do the regular maintenance on it, but as far as anything major that happens, it'll have a 3-year warranty on
Okay,
each
good.
of them.
Sounds good.
Okay, number 122, awarding a contract to AC Schultes Incorporated for the rehabilitation of water supply well number 4 in the amount of $203,000. Bob, any word on, will they get that done in time for Memorial Day or at least the summer?
I think that's for well number 3, right? Say 4?
It says 4.
It's
three.
3.
Supposed to be 3?
It's 3.
It's 3.
Okay.
And this is another piece to, hopefully we can get this done prior to.
All right, so we'll modify that.
July is our, the deadline that they're
Okay.
promising us that they should be able to have it done by.
All right, 123, appointing Jack Casino as the lifeguard captain at a weekly rate of $1,010 and Pam Casino as the badge checker supervisor at a weekly rate of $605 for the 2021 summer season. 124, authorizing the purchase of 20 body cameras for the Lavallette Police Department in the amount of $126,365 through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program Agreement. That is Mr. Bryce. I'll let you talk about
Mayor,
that.
can I speak
You
first?
may.
I did meet with the chief today to get some information, and I did speak to Mr. Bryce as well. The police department looked at 3 different companies to supply these cams, and this was the better price for the better equipment that we need. There was another company that's pretty popular, about $80,000 more, but it had, lots of bells and whistles that our department felt we really don't need. This is Axon Enterprise Company is the company. It's the same company that Seaside Park and Bayhead are going along with. It also is the same company that the Ocean County Sheriff's Department is involved with. So there'll be a little bit more coordination between the towns. Some other towns haven't announced yet. They're part of the program that we're getting is that they will update this equipment every 2 to 2.5 years at no extra charge. It's almost like updating your GPS on the car, the mapping and that kind of stuff. If there's an update that comes in sooner than that, they will update when it's available. The police department is applying for the grant. It's due at the end of, I think at the end of this month or the end of next month. We don't know how much we're going to get, but whatever we get will reduce this cost. If you look at the information that you have, there's a payment schedule that came with this. For instance, it's a 5-year payout, $42,000 the first year, and then roughly $21,000 each year for the next 4. If we get the grant, we'll subtract the amount of the grant. It could be 100%, by the way. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. But whatever we get, we subtract from this, and Axon will renegotiate the terms of the payout, whatever it is. So I think all the way around, they've done a good job. These are mandatory. I met with Sergeant Frank White as well, who explained how they work. The chief of police, the records clerk, and the internal affairs officer, whoever that might be, will be the only 3 people in the department that will have access to the film once it's submitted. There is an automatic, not it happens automatically, but there's a whole schedule of when you can purge any of this filming. The police have to turn their cameras on when we're on a case, even if it's insignificant. Let me see, I think I covered all that I remember anyway. And I know Mr. Bryce probably knows even more detail than I do, but
No, you hit most of it. I just wanted to stress to everyone, again, this is a requirement that the state put upon us. All police departments by June 1st have to have this in place. It's another, at this point, it's an unfunded mandate until we get the grant money. Then it won't be an unfunded mandate, hopefully. In addition to the overall requirement, there has been several policy changes also within the state, specifically use of force and handling people underage drinking and possession of marijuana underage that are going to require the use of the camera during that time. So there's specific guidelines now that tell you, in addition, like Mrs. Philippone said, use of force, certain types of calls, but these types of calls and the policy changes that are coming up on that are also going to require it. We do anticipate having them implemented by June 1st with the vendor getting the contract at this point. If you just happen to look around at the agendas of towns throughout the state, everybody is going through this now. There's a flurry of body camera purchases because the deadline is fast approaching. The only thing I think is the storage. We do not have to have a on-site server.
Right.
Store it. It's going to be
Stored in the
stored through the cloud through Axon's storage program they have. In addition, it's called the evidence.com part of this. That is the locker for that, and it will be pretty smoothly transferred over to the prosecutor's office or anybody that needs this for any subsequent cases. So it's a good system. It's been out there.
The program's called like e-documents or something, which is housed in the prosecutor's office and linked to this Axon company. So it will work hand in hand. The other thing, just for the protection, I think, of the police officers themselves, every police officer on the force, full-time and class 2s, will have their own camera by serial number assigned to one person, each person. And no one else can use that because it'll be some kind of identification to get into it. And we had to go with Axon because they were one of the few companies that has filming that can transcend the 12-hour shift. A lot of the other companies would only do like 7.5 or 8 hours of filming, maybe 9, but very few that would take the full 12. If you went shorter, you'd have to have a secondary battery in the cars. You'd have just much more expense. You'd have to have batteries in the cars and cameras in the cars and all this other stuff. So this seems to work best for us. And I think it's got some built-in protections for us that will be helpful.
So these will be stored in the officers' lockers when they're not working and charged? How will they be dealt with?
No, there's
They
going
have
to
to go on a charging station.
Yeah, it's going to be a charging
when
bank,
Okay.
like the radios, where you have a big bank.
Right.
I think we have, I think it's said in the spec. I think it's 2 banks of 8 and then a smaller bank of 4 after that. And it'll be in one of the common areas, one of the patrol areas
Okay.
of headquarters there.
All right,
They only come on when you have
to activate them.
to activate them when you're
Yeah.
actually having a conversation or a.
You do. So what happens in, unfortunately, I think we've seen a lot of body cams featured in the news lately. And if you happen to notice, the majority of them are Axon. When you look up at the upper right-hand column or.
It was on
corner,
TV today
it
with
says
the,
Axon.
Chauvin trial case, and it said right in the corner, Axon 3, so you knew
Yeah.
what camera equipment was being used.
But I'm sorry, but to answer your question about how it's activated, so when they push the button, it has I think it's a 30-second, you can record it or you could set it, but it usually goes back 30 seconds. And what that captures is the audio. So if I hit it right now, it goes back to the start of my conversation with you, but it's just going to show us without the audio until the point I push the button. Then the audio will kick in. But before that, it traps 30 seconds of video only.
Okay.
One of the benefits of this, and as explained to me by both Chief Grant and Sergeant White, this filming cannot be edited. Whatever it films is what you get. Whereas all these cell phone videos that the public are taking are editable. So they're not necessarily pure fact. You can eliminate or add something to any cell phone video that's being taken by somebody and alter the situation. The body cam on the police officer cannot be edited at all. It is what it is. So the police department, at least ours, feels that in the long run, this will be the best protection for the police against any kind of claims that are not substantiated. That's it. So I'm
Okay.
very happy with it. I think they did a good job.
Me too.
Thank you.
And by the way, Frank, Sergeant White will be the liaison between the borough and the company. But the 3 people I mentioned, the chief, the internal affairs officer, and the records clerk will really be the only 3 people that have access to the films. Prosecutor's office, of course, but not within the department. Once it's handed in, you're done.
Who's the internal? Who is the internal?
Christian. 124A, authorizing the shared services agreement between the Borough of Lavallette and the Borough of Seaside Heights to share the Borough of Seaside Heights Animal Control Officer.
Mayor, actually, if I could just comment on that.
You can.
That arrangement has been in place since January. We've had the agreement with them. We've been going back and forth with the terms as far as formalizing that. That's why you will see the date on this does go back to January. But that agreement, they have been providing the service for us. And it's been working out very well for the last couple of months.
Okay, very good. Can I have a motion on the amended?
So
Second,
We amended it by making 122 about well number 3 instead of number 4. A roll call, please.
Councilman Pilon,
yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockwell.
Yes.
Councilman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Lee.
yes.
And that motion is approved. Resolutions off consent. Phil, I see you there. You just want to give us a briefing on what we're doing here with regard to these Verizon approvals?
Yes, Mayor. As you know, on January 19th, we adopted resolutions permitting 5 locations, but with conditions as recommended by the planning board. The Verizon representatives at the meeting made verbal objections to a couple of the conditions, specifically providing Lavallette with RF meters to check out around the poles to see if they were operating when work needed to be done, to prove by some verification that there was either compliance or a program to work with radio altimeter frequencies with the FAA and the military, and finally with a limitation on only 20 sites in the municipality. After that, we entered, after some back and forth with Verizon, the borough and Verizon entered into what's called a tolling agreement meaning that we suspended the time in which Verizon could file a lawsuit in federal court to overturn all of our conditions and our planning board recommendations and go ahead and start installing 5G nodes throughout the town. We went back and forth with some negotiations on those 3 points. As we discussed last time, we had a general agreement with Verizon, and these are the written resolutions specifically. And they've agreed to comply with any and all FCC and FAA requirements. In reading the latest literature, the FCC and the FAA have agreed that it is an industry standard, and they will be adjusting the radar altimeters, the devices that measure accurately height above the sea level for aircraft, helicopters, and so on, that they will provide a on-off switch with a lock that Lavalette Electric Utility will possess to shut off any pole at any time when work needs to be done. All we have to do is just call in their call center to let them know that a pole is being shut off. And finally, with regard to location, that any additional locations that they wish to install, they will contact the municipality. We have 15 days to discuss that location. And they've also agreed to supply poles which will allow for co-location with other suppliers should other suppliers wish to come in and locate in that area, as opposed to erecting more nodes or more poles, and enter into discussions and negotiations with the borough with regard to those. All of the other conditions remain the same. We did incorporate the mandatory annual fee into them. It's in the ordinance, but we wanted it plain that each pole and each node that they use has a $270 annual fee, which is the one which is basically set by law that we have to abide by.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, before we move on to those, I'm going to do number 125, which is a resolution approving the annual certification submitted by the Lavalette First Aid volunteer members who have qualified for credit under the LoSAP program for 2020.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Councilman Salem,
Yes.
Boswell,
Yes.
Councilman
Abstain.
Councilman.
Yes.
And that motion is approved. On to the Verizons. Number 126, amending the conditional approval of a previous conditionally approved application of Verizon Tilson Technology for a right-of-way permit at 2000 Grand Central Avenue.
Mayor, before we move into this, can I just make a general statement about the,
You may.
I guess there's 5 resolutions coming. It has been my philosophy that when topics of controversy come up, it's very important for us to look at all the pros and the cons, because I don't know that you can make an intelligent decision on anything unless you know what the negatives might be. It's easy to know the positive. It's easy to vote yes on something that's good, but you can't vote yes blindly. And I want to thank the council and Mr. Bryce and you, Mayor, for going along with the questioning and the delay that we put into place with the ordinance and with our opposition to the original going back, because I think what we've accomplished is an opportunity to at least push Verizon into some compromises. And what we've accomplished is a better design on the node itself, so it's aesthetically more pleasing. The elimination of that big box that was supposed to be there. And we just got these tonight on the dais, so I think if I looked at it quickly here, we did not accomplish relocating those two spaces that we had some objection to. We were not successful in that.
You actually did. The title of them is still the original. because that's what the original resolution was. But if you look in the text of it, when the mayor gets to it,
Okay, I
we'll
haven't
point out
had
the two.
we haven't
And
had a
that,
chance
and
to
that
go
would be
through.
Liggett that you're talking about in Brown.
Liggett and Brown,
When you
we
look at it, you will
accomplished
see the back
a
pages. of it
better
has the
location for
building
two of
locations.
the five that we're voting on. And had we not delayed and had I not fought to look at the negatives, none of that would have happened. We would have had all 7 original. We would have had a big box on all those poles because it would have been over 2 years ago. So I caution the council, even though I believe that we, as a community, don't want to go into a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against big telecom and the federal government. And we're not winning the whole battle. We've won some of the battle, and I think we should continue to fight because the industry has an obligation to make this better. I have never opposed 5G technology. I'm opposed to the delivery system that's being proposed by these telecom companies because I don't think it's in the best interest of the community to have, 100 new poles with all these things all over the place. But, we're at a point where the fight has to stop short of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So I will support this. But I ask that the council be very cautious as we move forward, that every one of these polls, every one of these requests really has to be looked at very carefully, in spite of the fact that the federal government and Verizon and all their competitors really have the upper hand in all this, which is sad. That's it, Mayor.
Well, I appreciate your comments, but I think it's important to note that our objections were not merely a negotiation tactic to get the borough a better position, although that was an end result.
Well, I mean,
The objections were legitimate.
we never anticipated that we would win on any level.
No,
But that, I think because we objected, they wanted to succeed, so they had to work with us to come up with a better plan, and they did.
and the technology evolved as well, which is why we're getting much less intrusive,
Right, right.
hard product here than we would have gotten 2 years ago. So it did work to our
That's good.
advantage, but there comes a point where you got to recognize that the next step is expensive litigation. We are at that
Mhm.
point.
Absolutely. They're already proposing 7 more. So, they've already told us that. So in preparation for the 7 additionals, I don't mind going on the record to tell them right now that they're going to have to improve to get it passed. It's not good enough. This is the best we can accomplish at this point in time without litigation. Before the next 7 come up, let's get it better. Make it better.
Well, I anticipate the same process.
Good. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, number 126, can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Mr. Bryce, the discussion portion there, am I to open this floor to public comment at this point? Mr. George, do you know?
Oh, I would
Yes,
prefer-
Mayor, you can open it to public comment.
For each site, Mr. George?
The resolution, I believe the motion is for all 5 resolutions.
No, we've got them individually listed here.
They have to be voted on separately.
Yeah,
Can we
they
open
were-
the floor
we
to public
adopted them
comment?
individually last time.
Why don't we open the floor now to public comment on all 5, and then we'll just run through them afterwards.
Your Honor, if I may comment, Mr. Bryce had mentioned in a response to Councilwoman Philippone, question about locations. The planning board did question the location of 2 and insert a condition which was adopted by council that the approval was conditioned on finding a better location. Even as late as Friday, Mr. Bryce and I were conversing with Verizon to secure those locations. That's why the resolutions that were originally attached don't have those. We got the locations finalized this afternoon and put in the new resolutions.
All right,
Mayor, if I can make a comment?
you
before
may,
we open it
Mr.
up?
Bryce.
Mr. George, I just realized on the one for Brown Avenue, 103 Brown, since that is changing to 110 Brown, we are going to need to add a stipulation to that one. Similar to the ones that we did for the Grand Central Avenue sites that the applicant must obtain consent from New Jersey Department of Transportation, because that is now on a highway, because that is on 35 South. So
Oh.
on resolution 129, we're going to need to add that.
Would Councilwoman Philippone accept the amendment to the 5 resolutions? Or to
Yes.
the 2 resolutions?
Well, my motion is only for the one currently at 2,000 Grand Central.
Yes, number
So,
126.
As when we get to the one on Liggett and the one on, particularly the one on Washington, we'll have to amend the resolution
Yes.
at that time.
Okay, any public comment, Matt? Marlene?
Hello, Mayor.
How are you?
I'm good, Mayor. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Again.
We see you.
It's good to hear you. I'm hoping we can all get together maybe in July or August. We're fully vaxxed. We're ready to be in your company again. Councilwoman Philippone, I want to thank you. Since I believe it was November 2018, when the first pitch was made by Verizon to put these things in our community, you have led the community, I would say, in the opposition to safeguard our health. Unfortunately, I think Mr. George used the term set by law. The law in this matter cannot consider the health of the community, can't consider any of the dangers posed by this technology and its delivery. I did send to Ms. Donnelly and to the administrator a very good article that summarizes all of those health issues. And once again, I recognize that can't be considered. However, under the most recent federal decision in the Ninth Circuit, the Portland case, Mr. George, you know that aesthetics can be considered, and Mrs. Philippone, you've done the utmost to do what you can with those aesthetics and the regulations where they are allowing local governments to have say. And I do appreciate that. I just want to say that because of my involvement, I see what's happening nationally. And people were really on the cusp, I think, of making strides in the courts to fight this FCC capture by the telecom industry. And then March 2020 and the pandemic happened, and people's interests have been elsewhere. People are more concerned with staying alive, keeping their livelihoods, keeping their businesses, than having toxic nodes outside their house. But everything has its time. And I do believe that when people are once again free to have concerns besides COVID, they will petition their governments, as the First Amendment gives us our rights to do. And somewhere, some court is going to rule that the health of the public must be considered. Just like cigarette smoking was considered safe in the 50s, and now we find out it's poisonous, I believe you're going to find the same thing now with this technology, this RF. But I was just hoping the council could hold off until after COVID, until some of these decisions get through the pipeline, and the courts are starting to be confronted with, before the pandemic, the issue of considering taking our health without due process of law. Not what the court considered in Portland, which was whether or not the FCC was within its judicial legislative mandate. But I appreciate what you've done. I wish you could hold off just a little bit longer. And just for the record, I would like to say that one of the commissioners said, as she voted hard to approve these laws, she said, what we've done is we've just generated more litigation. And she said that back in 2017, and she was right. So while I was hoping you could hold off until we get one decision that allows the health of the community to be considered. I do appreciate everything the council has done. Mr. George, you have been a prince among men, and Joanne, you have done beyond. But I'm afraid the camel has his nose under the tent, and you're going to see 100 applications, not 7 more, but 100 more. And I wish us all a lot of luck, and maybe this can be undone in the future, but that's my say. Thank you for more than 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments.
you,
It was
Mayor.
just a few seconds more than 3 minutes. I did have my candy egg timer just out of view.
Me
Okay,
too.
thank you. Any other comments, Matt? Okay, very good. Then we will move on to a roll call on number 125, please.
Councilman Pilson?
Yes.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Sasso?
Yes.
Councilman Pinto?
Abstain.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Number 126, amending the conditional approval of a previously conditionally approved application of Verizon Tilson Technology for a right-of-way permit. Oh, I did that one. A right-of-way permit for 3 Liggett Road. That's number 127.
Mayor, we have to amend that because that's one of the locations that's been reworked. And if you look on page 4 of your resolution, it tells you it's going to go to the southwesterly corner of Funston and Dickman.
But the resolution says that we have to maintain the name of the first resolution, Mr. Bryce?
The resolution by
So
title
it's going to
says
say
that, but the
3
context
Liggett,
will
but
say-
the body of it itself says the other address.
Well, I agree, but I think the public has no idea that this change has been made. And so I want to emphasize that in our fight, that we were successful in at least relocating that one pole, which if you remember, the owners of the property closest to 3 Liggett were very vocal at the time. And this was they came up with 2 proposals on West Point Island other than 3 Liggett. And this is the one that worked the best.
If
Actually-
I may, Mayor, Councilwoman Philippone, I
Mr.
think that
George.
what we can do, again, we got those locations late and added them in. And as Mr. Bryce has pointed out, we need to add the condition because they're now abutting state highways for DOT approval. We'll add that in. We can amend the title to include a notation that the actual location is now 110. I believe
That's
it's
fine.
110. I'm speaking off the top of my head, whatever the location is, so that it's clear on the record. If anybody was just looking at the title, they would see the correct location.
Just for the record, on this 127, which is now Funston and Dickman, I think it was in the original that we had to check with the county because Dickman is a county road and it remains a county road. It was Liggett and Dickman, now it's Funston and Dickman. So it will still have to address the county. regulation.
That's correct. It is.
Mr. George, can I address something on this? Do we want to put some stipulation that we have to see the paperwork, the surveys, and the drawings first before we,
Yes.
the final approval does
Yes.
come through this week? So we can
Yeah,
approve it.
the
pending
ordinance
reading all
requires
that.
the submission of the paperwork. But as you know, the locations were still being scouted as of late Friday. We were actually talking by telephone with the mobile teams, and we got the exact locations today. But the ordinance does require the paperwork.
So Mayor, if I could give you a background on that, we've been going back and forth since the last meeting with the Verizon engineers. And if finally on Friday, he came out to the site and he and I went physically around the island to look at certain things. Not all locations are able to be used because it might not fall within the coverage map that they're looking for. The borough did propose one site at the boat ramp, the corner of the boat ramp where the West Point Island Bridge was. We felt that was further away from any structures. That did not work on the coverage map. That would have probably been what we see as probably one of the best sites. Other sites they did look at, the dead end of Newark Avenue on the island, right by the canal. That would have been too close to a structure too. And there would have been issues with the pole being too close to the actual bulkhead. We looked at, or Verizon proposed placing a node within the West Point Island Park or along the right of way outside of the park. We told them that the Civic Association is responsible for that area, and therefore it's not within our purview to grant that permission. And that basically led us to the site at Funston and Dickman, which was an alternate site originally proposed back when this was, what was it, January, I guess we received the application. So that was the alternate site back then. There are no, right in the immediate area, it's not near a second-story structure, there's a one-story structure there. So it would be further away from the second story structures than the Liggett site would have been. It provides the coverage that's needed. It's not near any primary wires.
Okay. So number 27 then, in my understanding, is going to be amended in Title 2, amending the conditional approval of a previous conditionally approved application of Verizon Tilson Technology for a right-of-way permit at Funston and Dickman.
Southwesterly corner.
Yes, southwesterly corner of Funston and Dickman.
I have a motion on 127 as modified, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Councilman Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
On the advice of our attorney, I abstain.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
My motion is approved. Number 128, amending the conditional approval of a previous conditionally approved application of Verizon Tilson Technology for a right-of-way permit at 1704 Grand Central Avenue. There's no modifications necessary on that one.
No, sir.
I'll accept the motion on 128.
I'll move it.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
On the advice of our attorney, I abstain.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Number 129, amending the conditional approval of a previous conditionally approved application of Verizon Tilson Technology for a right-of-way permit at 110 is the new address, 110 Brown Avenue.
Yes, Route 35 southbound in 110, and Mayor, you'll have to add that I don't know the proper wording, the consent of the DOT on the 35 south.
Contingent upon consent.
It would be the applicant shall obtain consent of the New Jersey Department of Transportation and any other necessary government agencies prior to installation.
Can I have a motion on 129?
I'll move it.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
On the advice of our attorney, I abstain.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Number 130, amending the conditional approval of a previous conditionally approved application of Verizon Tilson Technology for a right-of-way permit at 120 Washington Avenue. No changes required there, Mrs. Philpott.
No, not that I know of.
I'll accept the motion on 130.
So moved.
Second.
120.
Number 130,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay, at 120 Washington. Roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
On the advice of our attorney, I abstain.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Moving on to number 131 is the bills list, the amount of $522,310.98.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Ordinance on for public hearing, final adoption, ordinance number 2021-06, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limits and to establish a cap bank. As I discussed at the introduction at the last meeting, this is a formality that we engage in every budget season. It allows us to bank any underage on the cap. 2% cap, we don't go up 2%. We get to bank that money in the event that we need it down the road. In the 17 years that I've been involved in budgets here for the council, we have not needed to use the bank for any purpose. I do not, especially this year, anticipate any use of the cap bank. So we'll need a motion on
So
number
moved.
Second.
06. Roll call, public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard in the cap bank? Roll call, please.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
And that motion is approved. On to unfinished business, discussion of substantial damage assessments. I'll just give a little background on what we're dealing with here. After Superstorm Sandy, the borough was required to, in certain circumstances, designate properties as substantially damaged, which means that they suffered over 50% damaged, 50% of the assessed value of the improvements at the time of the storm. We had 40 of those initially.
Initially, I believe it was into the 100.
Okay, 100 people came forward and requested that their properties be designated as substantially damaged. The borough did not go out and determine on our own that properties were substantially damaged. That was different than what was done in the surrounding communities. Toms River specifically visited every property and pretty much blanketed every property with a substantial damage designation, which then required their owners to go forth with proof that they were not in fact substantially damaged. Created a lot of problems. We did not do it that way. We were allowed to do it the way we did it. We chose to allow you to tell us that you needed that designation. That designation in certain instances provided extra benefits. If you were going to apply for a ICC grant, an increased cost of compliance grant for the flood insurance, it required that you be substantially damaged. So many people got the substantial damage determination and then got the grant. A REM grant required that you be substantially damaged? No? No. Okay. Maybe there weren't any other circumstances, but there may be other aids that were available only to those who had substantial damage. So most of our substantially damaged properties have been corrected. There was a deadline set initially after the storm when the properties that were substantially damaged had to be brought into compliance, which basically meant elevation. That deadline was extended, I think, 3 times.
Correct.
By FEMA. This year, instead of extending the deadline as it approaches in October, they told us there would be no extension, that we should, in fact, notify those property owners that were deemed substantially damaged and had not been brought into compliance, that they faced some consequences. Those consequences are strictly from the federal government and not from the borough of Lavallette. It's not our intention to take any action with regard to this. It's strictly up to what FEMA and the federal government or the state government decide any enforcement that they're going to take to these properties that are not in compliance. We sent the letters out. I believe we have 12 that are still not in compliance, Mr. Bryce?
No, we were at, we sent out 57 letters. We're still at 40 right now.
Okay, 40. That's where I got the 40
However,
number.
I'll let you finish.
Nope,
and then
go
I'll give
ahead.
the numbers.
Keep the numbers coming.
Okay, so we sent out 57 letters in early March. We brought it down to 40. About half of those just had not turned in the paperwork yet. They brought things like flood elevations and certificates of elevations, or the proof that the work was done that they hadn't handed in to us, and we were able to rectify it. The other half are currently in the process of either elevating or constructing a whole new structure that will be compliant with the flood codes. I want to go back, Mayor, and just kind of give the history of how you gave a good history of how we wound up with the substantial damage letters. I want to give a history of how we wound up having to send these letters out. A lot of people, I think, have some misconceptions, and I want to clear them up. Going back to, I put 2 letters online, and you can find these letters if you go to our website, lavallette.org, and look under the construction department menu, and then go to the subsection for flood and stormwater mitigation. And it'll have these 2 memos on here. The first memo that I'm speaking about was in 2017, and it came jointly from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and FEMA. And that lays out what are the borough's obligations as well as the homeowner's obligations were regarding compliance with the NFIP and with the substantial damage assessments. I won't read that per se, but that will be on that website. You can look at that letter. When that letter was written in 2017, the looming deadline was 2018. Then, as the mayor said, the deadline got kicked down the road in April of 2017. It got changed to the deadline, which is now the new deadline of October 29th, 2021. In May of 2018, we received a letter, which is also posted online, from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. It referred to the previous memo and all the terms of that memo. But what I want to read out loud is kind of the gist of how we wound up where we're at right now. As mentioned in the November 27, 2017 memorandum, we will be conducting Sandy impacted communities prior to the FEMA established completion date for the number and addresses of the homes in your municipality that were categorized as substantially damaged, are currently occupied, and have not been elevated. So this is where we're at right now. We have to maintain the list of the homes that have the substantial damage letters. Like I said, we had at 57, we got down to 40. We would like to have it down to nothing. And that's what we want to do right now. We want to work with everyone to see some homeowners, and I firmly believe of that 40 that still exist, I believe that there are some of them that we're going to be able to get off of that list for various reasons. I myself am working with one homeowner who does have some pretty unique circumstances. And I think that we're probably going to be able to get them off the list. It's some unique circumstances. I don't know if it's a duplicate that we're going to find in other situations, but something we're going to look at. I want to answer some questions because we have been getting letters. I know you've been getting a lot of questions, as well as I've been getting them in floodplain. The first thing I want to stress, though, is the contact person for this is going to be Doug Erb. He is the floodplain manager in the construction department. His email is found on the bottom of that letter. It's flood@lavalette.org. That's flood@lavalette.org. You can email him there. He will take phone calls or he'll take emails and help you get through this and tell you what you need to have to be able to work through this issue. Some of the questions that are common, though, are, can the borough move the deadline? We can't move the deadline. As the mayor, and I think Mrs. Philippone said before, you're not the only ones being required to do something. The borough actually has an obligation here, too. The borough's community rating survey, the CRS rating, can be affected by this. Inevitably, a homeowner can suffer the consequences through their NFIP flood insurance, and the borough could suffer in our ratings under CRS. That's the issue we want to rectify, not only for the individual homeowners that we've sent the letters to, but for the homeowners that have gone and complied already. We don't want their flood insurance ratings affected adversely for the entire town. What can be done about removing any fines or penalties? Again, we're not fining anybody right now. That's why we're doing this letter. We sent it out because now we have all the way up until the end of October to work through this issue. We really don't even want to talk about fines right now. We want to talk about trying to remedy this and getting everyone on a path to compliance. Has questions about our ordinance being adopted in July of 2013 after the storm. Well, Mayor, do you want to talk about how it actually does apply to the houses that were?
You're doing a good job. Keep going.
Okay. It actually does apply because it applies to the construction and remediation of homes from that point forward. So it's not saying, those homes were damaged beforehand, so they're grandfathered in. No, what it's talking about is as of July 2013, that is how anything has to be remediated from that point on. Again, there's some questions here Doug will be able to help you with as far as getting the process started. They're asking what defines starting the process. Doug will be able to help you with that. But again, this is something that we're looking to help everybody with. And he'll be able to tell you how to get things going and how you qualify as far as being considered in the process. What can the borough of Lavalette do to help us? Are there any state or federal programs available this time? It would be through that NFIP, that $30,000, I believe it was, in the ICC funds through the NFIP. That paperwork should all be available to you through your NFIP policies.
That's assuming that they had flood insurance.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
If they didn't have
What other
flooding,
programs will be available to them? Do you know of any?
none.
I don't think
At this
any.
point, nothing is left.
Can Lavalette, excuse me, can Lavalette residents require a variance? And if so, what are the circumstances? It's not really something that's a variance, it's compliance with the, and I'll read exactly what the answer we got from the DOT on this, as far as which flood map that was. So the question we asked that mirrors this is what base flood elevation will be used for compliance? As many letters were issued prior to the adoption of the preliminary firm. Would the more restrictive of the 2016 firm or 2015 preliminary firm be used? The New Jersey DEP's response to us is the most restrictive, best available data should be considered along with the effective firm with the most restrictive chosen. This is the state minimum standard data. So we do have to go with the most restricted data out there. Where else in the country, state or country has this been done before and how is it managed? This isn't Lavalette choosing to do this. This is a nationwide policy of FEMA, but this is being applied throughout the area that was, or the region that was subjected to Sandy. The local municipalities have to be compliant with this as well. We're more concerned with New Jersey because we're all under the same, not only FEMA from the federal side, but the state DEP as far as guiding us through this process. That is what we're looking for. But again, this is something statewide. Any municipality that was affected by Sandy has to abide by this. I could tell you it's not being done uniformly. Some may be a little more aggressive than us in doing this, and some are quite frankly not addressing it at this point. Which is going to be a problem for those residents come October 29, 2021, when this sneaks up on them. So we are trying to get ahead of it. And again, this isn't something we're doing. This is being thrust upon us as well. And there will be implications for the borough. Each of us, and again, the questions that came before me, everyone has an individual situation. Can we make appointments with the town administrator, borough attorney, or floodplain manager? I would suggest first going through the floodplain manager. And then, of course, my email is administrator@lavalette.org. So if you can't, rectify it with Doug, feel free to go ahead and contact me. And then the last question is, can we discuss it as a group? I think based upon what I'm seeing, I think this is best discussed individually because each individual circumstance is individual. I know there are commonalities between all these, but I think if Doug or I look at them individually, it's better to address it that way.
Right.
So I hope I answered everybody's questions, but I think we'll take some questions probably at the end. Mayor, do you want to take questions during this part specifically for this?
We can open the floor now if there are questions or comments from the public. I just want to say that our actions are in response to a requirement from FEMA and NJ DEP that we inform you that the deadline is approaching. Beyond that, we don't have any intentions to do anything until and unless we are directed again by NJ DEP or FEMA to take further actions in the forms of fines or any other action that I can't possibly imagine throwing anyone out on the street at this point, since you can't evict anyone at all in the state of New Jersey. I think it'd be difficult to toss people out come October. Not our intention to do that. We are only going to do what is required of us by FEMA and the DEP, unless and until that has a significant effect on our community rating, which would have an effect on the taxpayers. At that point, some action may need to be taken. We are simply complying with the requirements of FEMA and NJDEP. Any questions or comments from the public? Very good. Okay. I personally have answered at least a dozen phone calls from people who have obtained this letter and walked them through what our position is. I expect I'll get more. Okay.
videos here. Start my video.
Her mother's house.
Hello, Elaine.
Hi, it's Elaine Chardine, Mayor and Council and Town Administrator. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is well. As you know, Peter and I, my husband Peter, he is here, and I have written a letter and have spoken to some other residents with our concerns. And thank you so much for addressing our questions as we go along. We will be in touch. And I guess one of my biggest questions is right now, as a group, we're just sharing information so that people can understand what's going on. And we'll continue to do that. So anything that gets passed, comes from you and passed along, we will share. My question is, are there appeals available to the state, or is that to the borough when additional information or materials have or could be submitted?
Mr. Bryce?
So the only way we found that they're accepting appeals is if you want to appeal, if you were denied and you want to appeal to be substantially damaged, receive a letter for substantial damage. That's the only appeal process we could find at this point. We've asked the question. And again, the thing I wanted to stress, and I didn't get to it during this whole thing, is we have a lot of questions out right now. One representative from the DEP was very good and got back to us. We have questions of other people from the DEP as well as FEMA that we're waiting on. And we hope to get those answers. But I think at this point, I think they're still putting together the puzzle as well. So we're waiting on, it's not negligence on their behalf. I think they're trying to see how this is all coming together as well. When we do get those answers, we'll let you know. But right now, it would seem that with the DEP, what was your question exactly?
Is there an appeal period?
So the appeal to be taken off the list, the only way we could find that is another town, Tom's River, like the mayor said. There was a lot of people on the list there. Tom's River had institute an ombudsman to review all the cases and then come up with resolutions for them. We don't want to have to come to that.
I think their period is long since passed as well. There was a set period after the designation where you could appeal it.
Mhm.
And I think it's been several years that period has been closed. I've had several clients try to appeal in Tom's River. They won't even accept an appeal at this point. So it's my understanding the appeal period is long closed.
So that is one of the questions we have with them. Is there an appeal process? We're waiting to find that out exactly.
Okay, so is it up to the town to reverse that, or is it up to FEMA?
It's up to FEMA.
Okay,
When you said they, that's who you were talking about. FEMA will not
Yes.
entertain an
Yes.
appeal. Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for answering all of our questions too. I appreciate it.
Good luck with your struggle with the DEP and NFIP and FEMA. Good luck.
Well, thank you. Well, we're hoping also that the town will help us in the process as much.
If there are steps that we can take, we would be happy to do that.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any other hands, Matt? Okay. Any other comments on substantial damage determination? Hearing
No,
none.
I'm done.
Is there any other unfinished business on the part of council? Michael?
Mr. Mayor, you were brought up the question of additional surfing beach.
Yes.
We spoke with the beach captain. He gave us some thoughts, pros and cons to a couple scenarios that could address that. Right now, the town maintains 3 surfing beaches, north end, south end, and then on Brown Avenue in the center of town. One of the solutions that he listed is of bringing another surfing beach. Pros to that, it would keep the current surfing beaches less crowded, invite more people into town with more opportunity to surf. They would get to just not only to come and surf, but see the other benefits that the town has, the great things that we have to do in the summer. On the flip side is going to be the location where that would go. With the balance they have now at the north end of town, the south end of town, and then in the center of town, it would create an imbalance potentially of additional, either a swim beach maybe being infringed upon. So there would be that. Current places, non-swim beach now are used for fishing. You maybe have to work out with the fishermen and the surfers, designate different times. That could be, any kind of change becomes problematic in that for first maybe year or so. Other one be the parking on the street. Having additional surf beach would potentially bring additional cars to a street, taking up some more parking spots that normally wouldn't be done on a said street. Another scenario he came up with was create an area specifically for the surf camp. Have their own surf beach, different from the Brown Avenue location now. Again, the location becomes an issue. Where are you going to do that? What their schedule would be. Again, you have the fisherman problem. That again becomes an issue because that's even more parking, instructors, people going up on that beach. So that street becomes very crowded. The other solution is solution 3 is widening the current surfing section up on Brown Avenue. That would allow, it would give the camp there, you widen it out, the camp has their area, surfers would have their section to where, those who surf, you get in that surfing area, an experienced seasoned surfer isn't going to drop in on somebody. That's not the proper etiquette. Somebody in the surf camp may not know that. And that becomes issue. So if we can widen that surf area, camp in one section, surfers in the other, the downside to that is you're going to take up some of the swim beach, but no matter what we do with this, it's going to be a change.
Yeah.
And
I've had some requests because the camp itself creates a crowded condition there and virtually pushes everybody else out of it. Creating a special beach just for a surf camp, I don't see as feasible because
I agree.
We've had several surf camps in town before, and we'd be discriminating if we didn't create another surf camp area for the new company. So
right.
I don't see that solution as even viable here. So again, no matter what we do, some people will be detractors and other people are going to be thankful. Will we actually attract more surfers or just spread the surfers out that we have? Take some of the pressure actually off of the parking on the surfing beaches and spread that out to the, there's pros and cons as illustrated here, Mike, to any of the solutions proposed.
Absolutely.
My own, opinion, I talked to Seaside Park and they allow surfing anywhere that's not swimming. As long as you're not swimming there, you can surf there. Maybe that's a little much, but I would be in favor of trying to designate another place as another surfing
Okay.
beach.
Okay, I'll get together with the lifeguard captain, discuss with them as we get closer to the season now, see what the beach is going to look like and see if we can come up
You know
with
why you don't have a
another
problem
location.
now, like you used to,
Is
is
the-
we don't have the jetties.
The jetties are gone, so
So
you've
right.
opened up a
place
lot
like,
more
say,
area.
New
Right.
Jersey Avenue, you're not
Yeah.
by New York swimming, and you don't have another beach till you get almost to Princeton, right?
But the problem, Bob, at the end of that end of town is that's where we've had overcrowded beaches where we opened up the other stand. So how would you know that
True.
you're gonna need another
Right,
stand?
that has
That
been
whole
where,
south end of town is almost eliminated because of the crowds.
Right.
Well, I think we could give the authority to the beach captain to designate on a moving basis. Where's the beach gonna be? You know, if it's
Right.
crowded in late July and early August on the south, and maybe we don't have it at all, but if, you know, it's not crowded on, Pennsylvania Avenue, we put it there.
How problematic would it be to have surfing on every beach? Period.
As long as it's not a swimming area allowed to, I don't have a problem with that either.
it's,
I mean, I don't surf,
the
so
only
I
concern that
don't.
comes up with that is that time, and it's not a chronic problem, but it does come up as some of the surfers, not familiar with where the swim beach starts, infringe on the swim
I
beach.
see that too. There's a lot of drifting going on,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah, but that's because you got them compressed into one area,
But-
Bob.
That's true,
It's
too,
al-
yes.
That's also the obligation of the lifeguard to keep order. I
Right.
mean, kids on boogie boards do the same thing.
Right.
You
It's
know,
easier
are
with kids
outside.
on the boogie boards than it is the surfers, for the lifeguards to do that. So
Why?
it's, well,
Why is it-
Kids are more compliant. The surfers are a
Yeah.
little rebellious and they want
Well, they
that
might have
big,
to- they might
the
have
wave
to-
is breaking right here and I don't care who's swimming in. I
exactly
want
right.
the
This
wave.
is where,
Well, they might
exactly,
have
this
to
is
be
where the
removed
break
from the
is.
beach. I
And
mean, you
this
have
is
to have
good surf.
some order.
Sure.
So, if they get used to it, if you open them all up, I mean, I'm not a surfer, so I'm not speaking
it's,
like I'm
you,
an expert.
you have
The
the
waves are
swim
different
beach.
up and down the coast. So if the waves are better, let's just say today the waves are the best on New York, New Jersey Avenue, maybe I'll go there. But tomorrow they're going to be great down at President Avenue.
The
I'll go
bars
there.
move all summer long. They
Correct.
change and that
So-
affects, you try to designate this as the spot to surf and that was fine in June, but by July it had moved down a block and a half. And those surfers want to be there where the best break is, but we're trying to keep them here. So that's part of the problem.
Keep the 3 in the designated areas you have now and have a floating one and up to like,
To
Mayor
them.
said, up to
Up to
the
them.
lifeguard captain.
How would they?
So-
how
They
would the
won't know where it
surfer
is
know?
then.
No,
Yeah.
kids
Right.
won't know where it is.
Yeah.
How would
The
you know
thing
where
with
it
the
is?
lifeguards is they're, and the problem with putting it, opening up like that, then your eyes are on the water and there are people who feel that the lifeguards are the babysitter for, your kids. Your kids are going in, don't worry, the lifeguards keep, so they got their eye on everything. Now you're looking to your left or your right to make sure that this isn't infringing. And all it takes is that second. And, so that's
I think the biggest thing, Mike, though, is it's a safety issue.
well, correct.
You know,
Yes,
that's should be the priority, safety.
yes.
You don't want anybody getting hit by a surfboard.
Exactly.
because
Yeah, but I think without the jetties there, we can accommodate some more. There, talk about change. That's a big change not having the jetty anymore. So
Right, yes.
that's,
I
what do
mean,
we have,
that's
9 of
allowed us a
those?
lot of freedoms.
Absolutely.
When the south end gets crowded, you can,
So why don't
you've
we,
done it, New York Avenue, all the way to
That's
the south end of town
What'd you come up
has
with?
been one continuous swim beach.
Why don't you see if you can get a recommendation as to where the new one should go?
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll start with one new one. We'll see how it goes year to year. Start with one new one to take some of the pressure off what's going on up there now. And that way, if we have an answer early enough, we can do some advertising
okay.
and the surfers can be made aware where the new
Right.
beach is going to be.
We'll get together
Can I
with the
just ask-
captain and
ask
go
one
over and
question?
see what it looks like.
We use the flags up there, between these two flags is
It's
the
the swimming.
swimming, and then between this and that, it's the boogie boards. Is there a danger or a reason that you couldn't have the surfing to the outside of the boogie board area, which keeps them away from the swimming area quite a
And the
bit?
boogie board
I mean, there
kids.
might be an overlap with the boogie board area or the rafts or whatever, but it wouldn't be right on top. You wouldn't want the surfers where the boogie
boogie
board
board.
goes. You want them
Right.
either north or south of that.
Yeah.
So they would be, I mean, I'm,
For safety.
We'll
the
discuss
captain
with the
would-
captain what's
the
going to be
captain
the
and the
best
lifeguards are
option
gonna have
for
to
us.
help.
Let them know we're interested in expanding surfing possibilities here in town and what.
Yeah,
He
what's-
is well aware of it. He
what's the
gets
best
asked
solution?
that question
Yeah,
about
well,
100 times a year.
Rather than have him pick just one spot and tell us we have to do a one spot thing, what's his best recommendation? for
I like,
expanding surfing?
as you discussed, anywhere that's not designated swimming or boogie boarding should be,
Well, that's
fair
that's
game.
what I'm proposing, but
And look
I'd
at
rather have,
the fishermen.
I don't, typically the fishermen are within, 50 feet of the water and the surfers are out. I don't think there's much of a
That's the one
conflict.
thing
Being a
with the
former
loss of the
surfer, Bob,
jetties
we
is
never had
the
conflicts.
fishermen
with
would
it.
always surf by the.
And during the
by the jet.
non-season especially in the fall, there's fishermen everywhere and the surfers are everywhere as well. And there's not really a conflict there.
I'd like to ask the captain of the lifeguards to propose the best solution to expanding surfing. One new location, or surfing everywhere, or surfing in.
Express our
whatever.
strong
See what
desire to
they-
expand it and figure out what
He
he
is-
wants.
said.
Good.
Well
That's the
aware, and
best.
like I said, this is a question he gets asked.
Well, tell him to pick
Hundreds of
one,
times during the
recommend,
summer, so.
recommend from the list where we're going to go from here.
Okay.
All right. Other unfinished business. Mr. Bryce.
The water tower, just to go back, we did have some rust issues on the outside only, nothing affecting the interior today.
Goodness.
All the other whatsoever. That has been rectified. Good job.
I didn't notice it different, so I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
We'll see how it weathers in, but yeah,
Okay.
When they lowered the speed.
35 you said, right? You said 35.
Mr. Bryce, your
The lights
microphone,
changed, now we're gonna have the speed.
Your mic.
The living shoreline, Mr. Borowski and I had a meeting, telephone meeting with Dr. Farrell and a representative from the American Littoral Society regarding that project. They are going to construct the original bid we got from Dr. Farrell, and then we got a subsequent bid from the ALS. They're going to restructure that so it's combined and kind of give us more of a defined approach on how to get to the point of construction. And that's what that would lead to, as far as getting us the permits, getting us the design and everything up to the point of construction. From the point of construction on, then a lot of that stuff may be carried out by volunteers. They'll price out materials for us as well, so that'll be part of that. We're expecting an updated bid on that. So
And the Littoral Society has access perhaps to some funding sources as well to,
it seems to be that way. They might be able to assist us, if not act as the conduit for that, at least guide us in the right direction
Good.
To get some of those funding sources that aren't necessarily readily available to you. People tend to reach out to them and make it known that they're looking to contribute to projects like this.
Good.
And it's not really, you wouldn't know it anywhere else unless you were associated with them. The pickleball, Kurt's Courts, our contractor, was going to be out here last week. I pushed back a little bit because of weather. He may be out here this week to do the installation of the posts and start that work. The work for the filling of the cracks and the surfacing is going to have to wait till the weather gets a little more consistent. But we're looking at, definitely this will be done. Kurt is telling us by the opening of the beach season, which is the June 19th deadline that we gave him. He couldn't guarantee having it done by Memorial Day. That was part of the when we were looking for the bid. But June 19th, he believes that we'll be ready to roll and be pickleballing out there.
Good. hardly
And
wait.
the one last thing, the budget comments. Again, our budget hearing is next meeting. If you want to put comments or ask questions ahead of time, you can email budgetcomments@lavalette.org. That's budgetcomments@lavalette.org. Or there is a form on our website that you can fill out. Or if you want to log in that evening, you can make a live comment as well.
And I spoke with our CFO. She will be here with us rather than online. I'm assuming that Mr. Hollowell will be online.
Yes, I believe so.
That's our auditor. So we'll have the usual professionals able to answer a lot of the questions that are beyond our capabilities. Not yours, of course.
And just to clarify from last meeting, it will be even.
Zero, flat,
Zero flat.
flat budget coming.
Great.
Okay.
Good job. Okay, any other unfinished business, Mr. Bryce? Okay, we'll move on to new.
No, I'm just gonna mention some things that.
Is that all new or is it unfinished?
Well,
Looks new.
it's unfinished.
Council comments.
All right,
Some
unfinished.
unfinished, some
Anita's
things, I
got
don't know what it is.
unfinished
I don't know.
business and new
everything.
business.
I want to thank you, the pickleball, I got many compliments, right, Dave? When we had our beach sweep, a lot of people came up and mentioned it's nice of the borough to get this area ready for the people that come and play, because there's so many of us that play. So we got a lot of compliments. I want to thank those who dispersed our Clean Ocean Action flyers. And of course, we did put on there about the Dunkin' Donuts, a gift card. We put on about social distancing, and they did. And they wore their masks, and it was done very well. And I have to say that we had 1,500 people.
No,
How many?
not 1,500, 150.
155
We had
people.
1,500.
Well, let me tell you, it felt like 1,500 people because they were lined up down the street, lined up on the boardwalk to see. And Dave and I, thank God for Dave, we ran around crazy, signing everybody up. We ran out of all the supplies they sent us. Dave had to run back and get supplies from last year. We used tally sheets from last year. We used everything from last year. We had to go get more bags. It was a wonderful thing. I'm sure it was the advertising that was done, sent it to the school. I called the school the Friday before and told them, please get the kids to come up, and they sure did. We had, I think, about 40 of them signed up online ahead of coming to sign up. If they didn't, then they signed up for us. And we had sheets up there for them to put their name, any organizations that they represented. We had a load of the kids from the Lavalette School came up. We were really proud of that. I took a copy of this list of everybody and sent it to the school. They're going to get extra credit for coming up to help. We signed a load of things, right, Dave? Anybody needed help with college, that they had community service? We signed 1 million of those. So that was really done well. And we want to thank a lot of people. Public Works, we want to thank them very much because, all the debris, all the garbage and the litter that they pick up on the beach, they leave at the top of every street. And Public Works has to go pick it up. So please pass this on to Public Works. Maybe you want Lori to take it down and post it. It says, thank you for helping. Duncan helped us very much with how many gift certificates?
We had $200 worth of gift certificates.
$200 that were all given out, $200 worth of gift certificates.
We ran out. There were so many people.
Yeah, there were so many people. So thank Public Works. We want to thank Duncan. We want to thank
Mike,
Dave went running over to Rite Aid to see if Rite Aid could very quickly donate some money because we didn't have any water for the kids, the young kids to drink. So he went over and asked, and the organization couldn't do it that fast. But Mike, the manager of our Rite Aid store, said, "Take the water that you need, and I'll pay for it."
Mike personally paid for it.
Mike personally paid for it. So I'm thanking him, Mike, the manager, and it was just a great thing. And of course, I couldn't have done anything without Mr. Dave, who's got loads of energy.
Anita, tell me about what you found. Was there a lot of PPE?
A lot of masks.
Yeah.
We found a lot of masks. And what was most
So
of the plastic?
it's having an impact on the environment.
Yeah, I know. It's killing birds and
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah, and it's bad because they go into the water.
Yeah.
I think Vicari
Yeah.
has mentioned that already. Joe Vicari mentioned that in the county.
Is that right?
Huh.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Anita, talking to that mic.
Oh, I forgot the mic. Yeah, but it was great.
So you'll have a total at some point of what they
We
found?
tallied it up.
Oh.
She's got all the tally sheets over
Okay.
there. It took about 5 hours to tally all the sheets up. Whoa. Yeah, and she's
Okay.
gonna get when you get the original tally that you're gonna send in, make a copy for us.
It's
Okay?
another reason to lift the mask requirement, right?
Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
That just gets away with it?
Yes, and so I want to also mention that I want to thank everybody for the calendar. The calendar is really nice. The pictures are beautiful. Somebody who took the pictures. The pictures are beautiful and everything's on there. The only thing I was worried about, the townwide garage sale, that's great. We're having that. Seaside Park Point Pleasant is having one. They're all having them. So we didn't cancel ours either, June 5th and 6th. And make sure you get your badges. And also, I know that we changed the fireworks. We were going to have it on the 4th, but we couldn't have it on the 4th on Sunday. So we made it go to the 3rd on a Saturday. And I called up Wilbur Whitman that night and changed everything. And we got the patriotic band that night. But then I heard at the last meeting when I wasn't here, the 11th. So I called up Wilbur Whitman and he's changing the big band to the 11th. So I figured I better let people know about this. I called somebody up and they real
Yeah, we're
quick put it
still
on
in line.
Facebook all over so people would know. It's going to be July 11th with the fireworks and he's got the big band. And I'll give these for our bulletin boards. And I also sent it to the newspaper. And it's important that everybody knows the change.
Yeah, we know you weren't here and we struggled with the change, but
I figured
the prices weren't working out for us.
Yeah.
So moving it was the most appropriate thing. We thought that you would have some
I figured
influence over Mr. Witt.
Yes, I did. I called him right away as soon as I heard that.
Good.
All right, one thing I want to mention, okay, the pickleball, everybody was thrilled. They came up, they were talking about that a lot. Also, you know that we have, I got a call today from Migration in Seaside Heights, and apparently they are designating as of this Wednesday, the parking lot on the, right by the bridge where that big carousel horse is, they're gonna have 3 COVID testing spots there. And starting Wednesday, and they have times, and bring down your ID, bring down your insurance card, and you can get tested if you'd like. And you'll find out, they'll email you 24 hours later. Now that's on their website and it's going on our website. So on Lavalette website, if you need a test, go on the website, you'll find out, you can just go down to that parking lot and get a test. Because some people have to have tests for certain things. So please do that, all right? Also, you know that we have a wonderful moose in this area in Ortley. They are joining with Wreaths Across America. And I'll tell you more about this. It's just a real quick drop of information. June 3rd is going to be in Seaside Heights near the AMVETS. And a lot of people in Lavalette belong to these moose, and they like to donate to the first aid and to the firemen of every town here. So they're raising money, and they're going to have a lot of fun with this. This is June 3rd, and I'll tell you more about it. I asked the Founders Day Committee, they're going to send me a lot of the vendors that they use that we could use for this. So it's going to be a good event. I also mentioned real quick to Bob, and I'm going to mention this quickly. When we started putting those beautiful signs up on our streets where we lost the men in the wars, I had written up a whole article. I got the speech that was for Memorial Day. Everything was all together to go in the New Jersey League of Municipalities magazine. Because of COVID, everything stopped. But I'm going to get it in again. I'm going to make sure that they know. We're outlining, celebrate local government. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to celebrate local government, Lavalette. We do a lot of wonderful things here. It's easy to find something to celebrate in this town. Okay.
Thank you, Anita.
Okay.
All right, if there are no further comments under unfinished or old business, we will move on to new business.
Mayor,
Mrs. Philippone.
just one thing. We've talked about it before, but I think it's time for us to take some action. I would like to ask that Mr. George prepare a ordinance for us regulating fire pits, open flamed or whatever. There are many state fire marshal regulations governing this. I brought a sample of materials. I know Mr. Bryce has it. And I think it's time to move. I've already had some complaints about open fires on properties. I don't think the public is aware. I don't think anybody's breaking the law on purpose. I just don't think they know the regulations. Right now, we don't have anything other than no open fires on our books. We don't have any regulation on fire pits or how far away from the property or the property line or the structures. And I'd like to see us put something in place before the summer.
What are you recommending, a ban or
No,
restriction?
regulation, not a ban.
Okay.
Personally, I mean, and I'm not sure that this is legal. I don't think there should be any fire that doesn't have a
Cover,
screen,
right.
a screen to
Good one.
prevent embers. I
Mhm.
think I'd like to see that. I think I know that the state fire regulations talk about, I'll call it the container,
Right.
the material that the flame things go into. I can't explain them now because there's a lot of different possibilities. I do think that we need to have that a fire pit has to be so many feet away from either your house or your garage or your property line. I mean,
Well, somebody must have something like that. Aren't there?
I'm sure
towns
there-
that may have them? We
I'm
can
sure.
just-
Mr. George, can you do some research
Mr.
for
George,
us and
pick one
come up
for
with
us.
some
Yeah.
possible components? We don't want one drafted up quite yet until we know what all the components are.
It's other towns.
Distance.
Yes, Mayor, I could put the standards together from the state fire code
Perfect.
and other sources and get that to council before the next meeting.
you know,
Very good.
I know in the state fire regulation, you can't burn just anything in these, and they
Right,
can't be a
great.
certain size. And I think we just have to get the guidelines, and I don't mean to be super strict that people can't have any enjoyment out of a fire
No, but
pit,
having guidelines is
but I
important.
think that we have an obligation to mandate safety. and to protect everybody from everything that might happen. You know, I don't think fire pits belong on wooden decks or
No, I
wooden
think you're right.
platforms. You know,
How
I
about
don't think they
plastic
should,
decks?
I
Everybody's
don't
got
think they should
plastic
be
now.
right next to your neighbor's property line.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
You know, I think we
I'm sure the town.
general guidelines to
Yeah.
protect everybody, you who wants to use it and me who perhaps doesn't like it. I
Okay.
know that in the township of Medford regulation, and I don't know if this is state or just them, if you're burning your fire pit and you live next door to me and it's bothering me, the smoke or something, I actually have the right to make you put it out, but I don't know how that works. But, you know, I don't want to be overly strict that nobody can do anything, but I think if we have.
Well, that's why I don't want to have Mr. George draft anything. I want to see what the parameters are
See
and
what
I
other
gave you,
towns
the-
are
I
doing.
gave you the Medford one. which-
how long ago was that?
I don't know,
Before
when did I give you that? Before COVID?
I thought it was the fall, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
I think
don't
it was a while
remember,
ago.
I'll
but
have to look. I think it was pre-COVID.
it might be, but it's easily, you can access it online. It's very easy to find. Just put in regulations governing fire pits, and this Medford one comes up on top because it must be one of the most comprehensive. And they do, I know it does address the New Jersey state fire regulation.
They're also out in the forest, which,
The,
yeah, you know, that's a whole different problem as
The
well.
construction official does tell me he gives people friendly advice when he sees it. He sees it quite frequently, people with them on top of decks.
Yeah.
Both wood and composite and underneath decks. So like second, they have them down there.
There are some UCC regulations.
Friendly reminder that will burn.
Butt up to this, so.
You're not supposed to have a charcoal or barbecue grill on a deck either. Okay, Mr. George, you got an assignment.
Okay,
Got it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay.
All right, any other new business?
The only thing I'd like to mention is the summer schedule for the garbage is starting May the 3rd. Mr. Bryce, is that
Soon,
correct?
yeah,
May 3rd for the new.
first Monday.
I believe it's May 3rd. We're not going to have another meeting, I don't think, for that, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to
Good,
mention.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay, good. Mike, anything?
Just quick beach numbers I'm gonna do.
Sure.
Your microphone, Mike.
Thank you. Revenue is now, we are at 340,000, and we have actually filled 1,344 pre-orders
Wow.
to date.
I'm hearing a lot of people commenting that this is going to be a very, very busy season. Realtors are all telling me that there are no rentals available in town.
I've talked to other towns, and they are gearing up for a season probably exceeding last summer, which up and down the shoreline, everybody was,
A lot of pent
Way
up
up, so-
vacation
People
frustration.
still don't want
Yes,
to travel far.
yeah.
They don't want to travel.
we'll be
Okay.
ready, so.
Good.
But the numbers are very good so far,
Thank
so, and getting stronger every day, so.
Mr. Bryce, anything new?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll open the floor to comments from the public. Any hands?
I don't see any.
All right, we'll come back to them.
No, there's
Dave, any council comments?
No, just, it's Earth Day today. That's why I got my blue shirt on.
All right,
No, Earth Day is the 22nd.
Joanne?
Yes,
Earth Day is
just
the
two
22nd in
comments.
April.
First of all, Mayor, I'd like to ask that we have an executive session at the next meeting to discuss personnel matters, new and future. Not too many individual people are involved in this discussion, but if it involves anybody, then there'll have to be rice notice.
Right.
But it's a more general personnel issue.
Okay.
That I think we need to discuss in executive. And then secondly, I most of you know, I have posted the COVID cases, new cases on a daily basis for the county and Lavalette every day. I post all the towns, their numbers, and I post a separate thing that just says the county's up X number of cases and Lavalette's up or down and the total. I just want to remark that in the last week or so, there's been a remarkable improvement in Ocean County. Congressman Kim posts a letter every day, and he talks about the cases in Burlington County and the cases in Ocean County. And it always annoys me that Burlington County is really low, and we usually have 1.5 to 2 times as many cases in Ocean County than Burlington County. I don't know why, but it's just coming into compliance. I think today we had 107 cases in Ocean and they had 147. Before it would be, if they had 147, we'd have 300 and some odd.
So Ocean County's reaching herd immunity apparently.
Yeah, we're getting very good and we're holding steady. There's been some adjustment in the Lovelet numbers. We were up to 161. We're back down to 158. Nobody's ever eliminated from the total,
Right.
the running total, unless they prove that they don't live here.
Right.
So that we're down 3, but those 3 never belonged to us in the first place. And we're holding, and the Lakewood is doing very well in terms of reducing their cases, and everybody else is holding steady. So I'm happy to report that I'm seeing some signs of improvement county-wise, community-wise, surrounding area-wise, and if the people keep it up, we can maybe get rid of this a little faster. So.
You think so with a guy like Murphy? He's going to keep this stuff going.
Well, I can't tell him what to do, but the numbers are indicating that there's improvement, and we were as a county, we've been out of control for the last 2 or 3 months, as bad as we were in the beginning. I don't know who did what to get it under control, other than to point out the fact that we were out of control. But they're rising to the occasion, and it's better all the way around. And it keeps posting the numbers, keeps the community as calm as possible. We've had a couple of families that all have been affected. So you could go up 3 to 5 cases in one day. So people have to understand that it's not going to go away to be 0. I don't believe we're ever going to get
No.
to 0, but we can work to get it as low as possible.
Bobby, good?
I'm good.
Michael? Anita, anything else under
I
council
just want
comments?
to remind everybody that April 22nd is Earth Day. April 22nd is Earth Day. And if you take those 2 fingers and make the sign for R, here are the magic words: reduce, reuse, recycle. 2. It's up to me, and it's up to you. So please do it.
Mr. Bryce, can you follow that up with anything
Follow
better?
that.
I got nothing.
Matt, last chance for hands.
3 hands up.
Okay.
First hand was huge, Giordano.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but I can't see you yet.
Oh, I'm actually at leaving work and I'm in my vehicle, so it's dark anyways. I apologize.
Not a problem. What can we do for you?
Yes, so my name is Hugh Giordano. And I don't know if do we have to give our address?
Yes.
Okay. Blackwood, New Jersey, 57 Argyle. I am here as a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW.
United what? I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, United Food and Commercial Workers Union.
Okay.
UFCW.
Okay.
Local 152. I'm here in regards. I wanted to have public comment in regards to the up and coming ordinance on May 3rd in regards to cannabis and the prohibition of it as far as the business aspects of it. The UFCW is the official labor union under the guise of the AFL-CIO. We are a national labor union of 1.3 million working families across the United States and Canada. And we are the official labor union of cannabis workers from seed to sale. And what I'm asking is for you to drop this ordinance and then to reconsider at least having a medical facility. You do have a pharmacy there, and medical cannabis is not only good for patients, but it's good for workers too. Patients that work, workers that work in cannabis in New Jersey will be unionized. We have the best labor laws in the country when it comes to cannabis. This means a good wage, health care, retirement, sick time, vacation. These jobs are also very science-based, especially on the medical side of it. These workers have degrees in chemistry, horticulture, botany, and even in the dispensary side, these folks have degrees, whether it's business or other types of sciences. Some of the dispensaries also hire pharmacists as well to be on staff, to be part of the staff of a dispensary. These are good paying jobs. And looking at the census, I saw that there was a huge drop in population. There's a large amount of seniors in town, and cannabis can help alleviate some of the tax structure on that. It's a way to help seniors, and that tax money can go back to helping the people that need help, people with disabilities, and people that are senior. It's a great way to reinvest. The average dispensary right now makes between $20,000 and $30,000 a day in sales, and that's only with 106,000 registered patients. So it'll attract people to your town as well to spend money. Majority of folks that are in medical are 50 years or older. So the fact that you have a senior base there also shows that you'll have the ability to take care of folks that are senior that don't want to travel or have to pay to have something delivered. What I would suggest is two things. There's an ordinance. The city of Bayonne made a good ordinance. It's very conservative for the size of the city, of course, but it lays out a structure of how to allow a medical dispensary into your town. Environmental standards, work standards, community standards, and you can control that. And you can also lay out how the process goes. And if you want a tour of a facility, I can offer you a tour of the unionized facility. It was the first one of the original 6 to unionize in New Jersey. It's in Woodbridge. It's called the Garden State Dispensary. So if you're interested in going to that, I would be more than welcome. I've taken other mayors and councils, affiliates, and colleagues who wanted to go to these tours, and you can see for yourself what it is and what it is not, and also the good jobs that it provides, and especially in a town in the borough of Lavallette who needs population increase. This will attract young, educated folks who will raise their family, because cannabis is COVID proof. During the COVID epidemic, it was considered essential, which means those jobs were still open, and especially in the medical cannabis field. It really does take care of
Thank you
patients.
for your comments, but your 3 minutes are up.
All right, thank you.
My comments in response to your comments are that this council's position has always been that we're going to do what the residents of the borough of Lavallette want us to do. The state can legalize it, regulate it. The county can do that. The borough can do that. I have not heard one objection from any resident or property owner objecting to our new ordinance. So I think we have it right at this point, and we'll see what the public comments are at the next meeting when we seek to adopt. But thank you for your comments. 3 minutes for Mr.
Evening.
King as well.
Hi, my name is Jeff King. I'm at 24 Elizabeth Parkway in Eatontown. And I would actually like to concur with Mr. Giordano's comments. I think he put it very succinctly, very kindly and wisely. I feel like it is a mistake to ban medical cannabis especially. It's cruel, it's harsh, it's devoid of compassion. It's egregiously just short-sighted, myopic. I'm sorry that you're ignorant, but you are. You don't really know what you're voting on.
Need to listen to that. Goodbye.
Pardon?
I'm not
You're gonna-
ignorant. I won't accept that kind of
That's my-
criticism. Goodbye. Next.
Get an address.
Marina, are you there?
Yes, hi, my name is Marina Redman and I live at 3 Burrell Square in
In what town?
Sayreville. I'd like to tell you my journey on medical cannabis and how much it's helped me. I suffer from PTSD from the ages of 1 to 4.5. I had multiple surgeries on my leg. And then at 4.5, I had to have it amputated. Back then, your parents weren't allowed to stay over in the hospital. You were told to be a big girl. When I was told to go into the operating room, they didn't say much. Your parents can bring you in. This also brought me to PTSD. And then unfortunately, in 2017, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It was horrible. I vomited because of the chemo. I could not get my medicine. It took me over a month for me to get my medicine. People in your town are suffering because they can't get to these meetings. I lost 50 pounds in 3 weeks because I couldn't get my medicine. Now you're saying, the people can speak up on May 3rd. What about the people who can't? What about the people who have such bad PTSD? They can't come on here because they're just so upset. They're just so upset with what's going on in the town. What about the people who have cancer, who are vomiting and can't make it? They're so sick, they're curled up in a ball. What about the other people who have multiple sclerosis and they can't make it out of their bed? We have to think about all the people in the borough who have all of these challenges, not just the healthy ones. It's not fun having this. You're saying, people are gonna, vote. But what happens if they can't get up and vote? What happens if they can't speak? I'm the one who is speaking for them.
Do you have a list of people in the borough that suffer from these conditions? Because I would certainly be happy to reach out for them and get their comments.
No, unfortunately, I don't, because
But how do you know they exist here?
Well, how do you know they don't exist? So you're telling me
Pretty much in touch with every member of this community.
So
are you planning on driving from Sayreville down to here to pick up your medical marijuana?
No, I'm fighting for the people in the town that can't move.
I'm not aware of those people, but thank you for your
concern. Don't want to be aware of people like that.
Thank you for your concern. Your 3 minutes are up.
Love you.
You too. The guy with the marijuana leaf behind him?
Don't see any other hands.
Not Phil.
I love all these people from out of town. They want to tell us everyone in town.
I can hear you. I'm right here.
We can hear you. Your name and address, please.
This is Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org, a 501c3 in New Jersey, advocating for disabled people and for cannabis patients' rights.
What's the address of the 501c3, please?
213 Avenue B, Bayonne. And I would come to Lavallette to buy my cannabis if I was in Lavallette having a vacation. And I'll talk more at the next meeting. I appreciate that you're actually having a meeting about this. But until then, I'm just going to play the song that we never got to sing at your town. I don't think we ever got to sing the song. But you passed an ordinance that's anti-Christian in my eyes, anti-vet, and it's hurtful. And we want to help the sick and the dying. We want to put the last first, not last. Right now, patients are lined up at these dispensaries and they're not getting what they need. And you can't get it in Lavallette. Well, you can't get no weed here. 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 Keep your cancer home, dear. You can't get no weed. Barnegat, Berkeley, Bridgeton, Bridgewater, Brigantine, Crosstown, Chatham, Clifton, Cranberry, East, Rutherford, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Fairhaven, Freehold, Garfield, Hasbrook Heights, Hawthorne, Lavallette, Odi, Jamesburg, Hazlitt, Mawa. You can't get no weed here. 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 Keep your cancer home, dear. You can't get no weed. Manville, Mannington, Point Pleasant Beach, Hilton, Caldwell, Oakland, Gosford, Ridgewood, Ringwood, Seaside Heights, Seagirt, Shrewsbury, Secaucus, Surf City, Spotswood, Upper Freehold, Upper Saddle River Wall, and whee! You can't get no weed here. 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 Keep your cancer home.
Looks like 3 minutes are up there.
Weed.
Thank you very much for your rendition of "You Can't Get No Weed Here." It's absolutely true.
Westwood, Wyckoff, Woodcliff Lake.
Anyone else? The last one. Okay. Mr. Bryce, did I ask you if you had any comments?
You did. I couldn't top that. And I still can't.
Oh,
top
yeah,
that
you're
either.
right. Okay. All right, very good. Then the appropriate motion is a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Are you driving from Sayreville to Lavallette